Good morning, friends. In continuation to our last session where we introduced marketing analytics to you, we'll start with our first lesson. As discussed before, there are 4 units in this course. Under Unit 1, we'll have 7 lessons and we'll devote 2.5 weeks to each unit. So today we are going to talk about Lesson 1 of Marketing Analytics. So when we talk about marketing analytics, in lesson 1, we are going to understand the data in detail. We try to understand how this data helps us in making decisions. So when we talk about data, we'll talk about a lot of things. And without understanding the data in depth, we may not be able to understand analytics. So the 7 lessons that we have under Unit 1, which I call as 7 sessions, today would be your understanding data. In Lesson 2, we'll talk about basics of stats. In Lesson 3, we'll talk about data interpretation. In Lesson 4, we'll look at market analysis. In Lesson 5, customer analysis. Lesson 6 would be devoted to product analysis. And our emphasis would be to have some small case studies, and we'll do it through hands-on so that you understand the concepts through that link of small case studies. And lesson 7 would be a bigger case study where we'll try to bring all the small case studies to understand this unit. As we had talked about the learning outcomes from this lesson, we would like to know only 2 things. What is analytics and why we need analytics? We did talk about in the introduction about the data, the size of data which is growing exponentially each year. We looked at 2020 where we said that 40 zettabytes is the global data that is generated in 1 year. As per the projections by IDP, the data in 2025 would be 175 zettabytes. So this is a huge volume of data which you have to handle, and we'll see as to what are the tools and how we do it. And that is what analytics is all about. In order to understand analytics and going deeper into understanding data, I would like to start with a small example. Now this has been picked from real life. In this COVID-19 era, all of you might be in lockdown. Although we have started going out, but still the markets, the malls have not opened yet. So like you, every day around maybe 11 o'clock, there is one fruit vendor, fruit seller who comes to my street. And I had been buying fruit from this fruit seller. Now for the last 2 weeks, he has stopped coming to my street. One day while walking to the local market, I saw this vendor in another street. I wished him and asked him that why he has stopped coming to our street. He told me Sir, in your street, the people, they are very fussy. They haggle a lot, they bargain a lot, and they buy very less fruit. And there are many other fruit sellers, street vendors who come to your street. And I said, where do you go to sell your fruit? He said, where you are standing, this is the street where I come every day these days. I asked him another question, how he has identified this street and why he has decided to come to this street. He said, sir, if you look at SUVs, the bigger vehicles along the street, that gives me a fair idea that the paying capacity here is higher and there are less fruit sellers who come to this street and people don't haggle a lot and I get a good price because the people want good quality and they don't ask for the price. And many times they ask me to bring some fruit like kiwi fruit or some other fruit, or sometimes they say we want a special variety of banana. I bring that and I found that here I'm able to sell my fruit in half a day rather than putting the full day in your street and not able to sell whole of the fruit. So I said that's very good. But I said if I have to buy, I have to come to this street. He said yes. Now if we look at this vendor, he has one store, that is his ready, and he has one product, that means only the fruit, and he has one market, maybe one or two streets here. But if you understand what I'm trying to say, he has used analytics to make a business decision to go to the other street. He has done competitor mapping. He has studied the behavior of the customers. He understands demographics, why he has picked this market. So, in a way, he's a smart vendor who may be a school dropout, but he's using analytics and he's using that in his business. All of us, whether in business or in our personal lives, we use analytics. Now let me move on to a bigger picture. Let us talk about big players. Let us talk about MNCs, global companies, under three verticals: retail, telecom, and e-retail. Let's talk about Walmart. Walmart is the giant of retail in the global arena. They have 11,500 stores in 27 countries. They do 1 million transactions per hour. They have 10,000 to 100,000, which is 1 lakh, products per store. When we say SKU, that means stock keeping unit with a unique barcode. Now, if we talk about Walmart, they are doing 1 million transactions per hour. And if I just would like to use the same analytics as the street vendor was doing, it is next to impossible. Just I would like to know that how much one person spends in a day at a particular store, whether he spends 100 rupees, 50 rupees, 200 rupees. I need to go through 1 million into 12, that is for a day. If I want to know for a 1 month, what is the average spend of an average customer across all the stores? So you can well imagine the amount of data which I have to process in order to get the answer. Sam, who is the founder of Walmart, when he started, his strategy was to underprice the things compared to his competition. He started working in one of his competitors' store to understand the pricing. And that is how he started from one store. He was able to take decisions manually. And in a city, then he had more stores. But today, if we think that it can be done through the human brain, through the human mind, through the gut feeling of business, that's next to impossible. Let's talk about another giant, Tesco, which is huge in Europe and UK. Now, Tesco, they have loyalty membership club cards. So these are the customers like in India, you have Reliance loyalty cards, club cards, we call them. And there is home delivery when this particular member he goes to any particular store anywhere in the world. So what sort of discount, what sort of products, and what are the loyalty points which are to be put on his card. All this is huge. And they have around 50 million club card customers. Let us talk about telecom sector. In telecom sector, the global giant is Airtel. Airtel has 261 million subscribers. They process 8 billion calls every day. These are the number of calls they handle every day. And they have hundreds of call plans, region-wise, category-wise, country-wise, customer-wise, and they have different products under their telecom belt. Now, if I have to just know the average duration of call in a day, that means I want to know what is the average duration. Is it 10 seconds? Is it 30 seconds? Is it 2 minutes? Is it 4 minutes? For one day. So they have to process 8 billion calls. But if I say for 1 month, what is the average duration of a call? So 8 into 30. If I say 1 year into 365. And you can well imagine the amount of data which is involved here. Let's look at e-retail. Amazon, on any busy day, one day, they have 10 million transactions. So when we say 10 million transactions, and if they want to process, they want to know, again the same thing which I was talking about Walmart, which product over the last, say, 1 year has been sold the most or the least, and what is the average amount which any customer spends on a particular product. So when we talk of data, this is the size we are talking. And these are the players who not only have those many transactions, but with those transactions, they generate that much data. Now let's go further. Let's talk about finance. So let's talk about the size. As you know, the biggest credit card giver in the world is Visa. Now Visa, they process 100 million transactions a day. So whether it is retail giants or banking sector or anything, for any purchase, for any digital payment, you use Visa. So that is the amount of transactions which they do in a day. FICO. FICO is a company which tries to put up systems to safeguard the financial institutions against fraud. So they work on fraud detection systems. So they offer protection on over 2 billion accounts. So you can well imagine the amount of data. Now let's talk about us, common people. So if we talk about Google, Google process 1 million gigabytes of data every hour. If we talk of Facebook, 30 billion pieces of content is shared on Facebook every month. 2.8 trillion rows of data is there with Sprint. If we talk of Excel, as far as my knowledge goes, we can have 1 million rows of data in Excel, which Excel can handle. Maybe they might have increased that. But look at 2.8 trillion rows of data with Sprint. Sprint is a telecom company of US, which has recently been taken over. There are 300 trillion entries in Google's databases. So what we are talking about? We are talking about 40 zettabytes of global data. We are talking about 175 zettabytes data in times to come, that is in 2025. So can we rely on our mind? The answer is a big no. And this is what we call as big data. Now, what is analytics? So when we talk about this huge size of data, there comes analytics to our rescue. Analytics allows us to use sophisticated statistical algorithms by leveraging computing power so that we can explore, analyze, and understand data, which is to get insight from it so that we can discover the hidden patterns that, if we understand, we can make better business decisions. Analytics can help in all sectors, whether these are financial institutions like banks, retail, healthcare, sports, or telecom. This is all about analytics, and what we just talked about is the huge size of data and how we can use analytics to process that data to make better business decisions. So if I have to summarize, we talked about how a small business is using analytics to take daily decisions. But if the size of the business is small, we don't need many tools to make those decisions. But when the size becomes 40 zettabytes, when the number of transactions increase manyfold, we need to take help of analytics because we cannot rely on our mind. And how analytics can help? we are going to see in more detail in the coming lessons. Now with this, I would like to give you a small quiz. What you need to do is, I'll ask a question and I will give you some choices, and I'll give you a few seconds to think. You write down or you think about the answer, and then I'll share the answer with you. Can you tell me how many zeros are there in zettabytes? Is it 20? Is it 18? Or is it 21? My second question is, per hour data which is processed by Google, is it 1 trillion? Is it 1 billion? Is it 1 million? So I give you some time to answer the two questions. How many zeros in zettabytes, and how much of data is processed by Google in 1 hour? The answer is 21 zeros in zettabytes and 1 trillion data is processed by Google in 1 hour. So if you have any questions, I'll be there for your tutorial on Wednesdays 3 to 4. You need to write to me in order to be part of that session. I'd like to share with you some of the further reading, and I'll highly recommend all of you to join a Coursera course which is on market analytics. I'll be using some of the case studies from there, and it is very basic, very good, very well made with some very good videos. So I recommend all of you to enroll in this program. Here is the link. You click and you go there. Second, these are two publishing houses, the best in the business world. One is the Harvard, and the second one is InSeed. So these are the two links which I have provided to you, and you can go and read these articles. In InSeed, this is about how Russia is leveraging digital analytics to have sustainable growth. So a study was done, so you can go through this. And for the Harvard publication, you can go and see this wonderful article over there. Now, in the end, I would like to take up a small case study, which is very interesting. Now, before I show you this video, I would like to tell you the background. Dove is the company, as you all know, is in the beauty sector. And what they did long time back, they run a campaign for real beauty. And in this, there was one guy, he used to work for FBI, an artist who used to sketch the people. So he started, so Dove organized this campaign. So he called the females, and without seeing them, he'll ask, how do you look like? And then he'll make a sketch. Then he'll invite another person who knows that female whose sketch he has already made, and ask that person to describe that female who came earlier, and then he'll draw another sketch. And then I'll talk about this in the end. So you go through this video, and then I'll talk about why I'm showing this and what analytics has to do. So friends, what you looked at, you look more beautiful than you think. So this was the campaign. The idea behind this was that it became the most trending YouTube video at that point of time. And the analytics showed that 53% of the women of the world feels that they are the most big critics of their beauty themselves. So when this was showed, the analytics were shown to the women of the world, their sales increased from around 2.5 billion to 5 billion. What that has for us in this course? You know, all the big business people sometimes feel that they have enough experience and they can take business decisions based on their experience, based on their wisdom, based on their intelligence. But when analytics are presented to these people and that is combined with their wisdom, intelligence, and their business acumen, then the right gel can take the business to new heights. So that is where analytics come into picture. So one aspect is that, okay, there is huge data which has to be analyzed. So that analysis is there, but we are talking of analytics, and we'll talk more about this, that what are the various modules under analytics which can help us to combine that business acumen with that analytics for taking right business decisions. Thank you very much, and we'll meet again for lesson 2 very soon. Bye for now.